Hi YouTube, this is Sassy Linda Lou, and today I just wanted to discuss a couple of things that have been weighing heavily on my mind lately. Last week was Armageddon week on the History Channel, and I was able to catch a couple of the shows. The first one that I saw was on Tuesday evening. I'm on the Pacific coast, so 8 o'clock our time, we got to watch After Armageddon, and that was on, like I said, on Tuesday, and it was kind of interesting. I mean, there were some interesting points. There were a couple of things I liked about it. I liked that it was about a family that had a couple with a child. He was an older kid, about a teenager, probably about the age of my son, maybe a little older, and about their attempts to get out of Los Angeles and make their way to Idaho. A couple of things I didn't like about the show were the way that the father was portrayed in the episode. And at first I was really annoyed with the father, and then the more I thought about the show, and after discussing the program with my husband, who was out of town and not able to see the show with my son and I, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that they had actually portrayed the father pretty accurately to what a lot of mainstream society is going to be like if we ever have a huge event where we're going to need to evacuate, or people are going to have to shelter in, or there is an Armageddon type situation. He was very passive, he wasn't as active as I thought he should have been in trying to keep himself and his family alive. He just kind of let things happen to them and then reacted to the things that happened to them kind of in a delayed reaction sort of way. He certainly didn't take the bull by the horns and really do anything to help them survive. I don't think he really did much in the way of helping them to survive until, gosh, probably two-thirds of the show was already, two-thirds of the way through the show, and that was finally killing a snake to eat, and by then they were nearly starved. And he was just, like I said, he was very, very passive, and that really bothered me. But then again, he really does embody what has become the norm in our society. We are surrounded by a bunch of people who are simply incapable of making a decision for themselves and are so focused on believing whatever it is that the government tells them, or waiting for someone to take care of them. I am sorry. There is a reason why so many people got stuck in the Superdome when Katrina occurred. Most people don't realize because they simply don't understand the way that our government works. FEMA was on standby. My husband worked for FEMA during that time, and he was on standby. Until the mayor and the governor, especially the governor, invites the federal government in, they're on standby. They had buses waiting. They had equipment waiting. They had food and water and gear and everything else on standby, waiting in surrounding states. Until the governor allowed them in to the New Orleans area, they could not come into that state. That's why it took so many days to get water to the Superdome. It wasn't because FEMA couldn't figure out how to drop water off at the Superdome. And so, because people are so uneducated on how our government works, the Constitution is set up so that the states cannot be overthrown by the federal government. It doesn't work that way. And our founding fathers did that to ensure that the federal government couldn't bully the states. So when I hear that, when I hear people say, oh, well, it took 5 days to get water to the Superdome. Okay, take a look at the governor. She was not willing to allow the feds to come in because she was so terrified that they were going to take over. And so I look at that show after Armageddon on the History Channel, and it just brought back so many of the feelings I had at the time of Katrina, of just being annoyed and frustrated that people just don't get it. They just don't understand. And I don't know if it's because they don't want to understand or if they just truly don't understand. If they weren't quite there for their senior government class, or if they're just that brainwashed by television and the media to not understand what's going on. Another show that I saw not too long ago, also on the History Channel, was on Modern Marvels. And this one was called The Crumbling of America. And it was a 2-hour show. Let me see. Make sure I got the title right for you. Yeah, The Crumbling of America. And I'll read you this synopsis here real quick. It says, America's infrastructure is collapsing. Tens of thousands of bridges are structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. A third of the nation's highways are in poor or mediocre shape. Massively leaking water and sewage systems are creating health hazards and contaminating rivers and streams. Weakened and under-maintained levees and dams tower over communities and schools, and the power grid is increasingly maxed out, disrupting millions of lives and putting entire cities in the dark. The Crumbling of America explores these problems using expert interviews on location shooting and computer-generated animation to illustrate the kinds of infrastructure disasters that could be just around the bend. Now, they're airing this again tomorrow a couple of times on the 12th of January. Now, we watched this together, my husband and I, and my son, and it just goes to show you, we have spent so much money on such ridiculous things in this country and have spent no money on infrastructure. Infrastructure is one of those things that our government should be responsible for. Healthcare is not one of them. I'm sorry. It is not up to the federal government to provide me with healthcare. What I expect them to take care of is highways, and I expect them to take care of bridges and maintaining infrastructure, power grids, that sort of thing. Let the states take care of medical needs or whatever if they feel they need to. Otherwise, leave it up to to groups and organizations. Let the Red Hat Society take care of the poor. Let the churches and the other Christian or other religious groups take care of the poor and the other needy, whatever type groups. It should not be a thing for the government to take care of. The government can't take care of everything. And because they have tried for so long to make the government take care of everything, we're left screwed. And that's why there's no money left to take care of those things that are truly important, which is why we are falling apart structurally. You look at what happened in Katrina. That levee broke. How long had they been waiting for that sucker to be reinforced, to be replaced, worked on, whatever? There were problems. They knew there were problems. Now here's this website that I found just this afternoon, and it's How to Survive the Collapse, which goes back to this whole idea of surviving the collapse of civilization, and and it's learning from TV shows like Lost and Jericho about how to take care of yourself during these types of disasters. Without electricity, without those things that we are so very fond of in this day and age. So the website is secretsofsurvival.com. So take a look at it. I mean, these are things that we need to be aware of. These are things that we need to have in our own arsenal to take care of ourselves, because we can't rely on others to do it for us. We need to be active. We need to take care of ourselves. We can't wait for someone else to do it for us. We can't rely on someone else, and we certainly can't be passive in this. So, talk to you later, YouTube. Bye.